Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to really zero in on what's shaping HR in 2025. And, you as business leaders, you're right at the heart of it all. We've got these great reports from ExtensisHR and Paycor, some really interesting case studies, and we're going to cut through all the noise to figure out what matters most for all of your success.
What's really fascinating to me is how these trends are all kind of interconnected. Like they're these gears in this big complex machine, like economic uncertainty. It just fuels this talent scarcity problem, which then makes it even harder to hold on to the good people you have. It's this chain reaction.
Okay, so let's break down this chain reaction a little bit.
Yeah.
We're seeing this talent gap, and it just seems like smaller businesses are feeling it the most. They often have, fewer resources and smaller recruiting networks. And that makes it a real uphill battle to attract that top talent. So what's at the root of this scarcity? What's causing it?
Well, the reports are really pointing to this perfect storm of factors. You've got baby boomers leaving the workforce. You've got these skills gaps where employers just can't find people with the right skills. And on top of that, you've got a dip in labor participation rates. So it's not just about filling empty seats, It's about really strategically matching the right talent with what you actually need.
So how do we navigate this talent crunch? One of the reports talked about this manufacturing company in Ohio that was really struggling to replace these retiring machinists. They came up with a pretty cool solution, though, right?
Yeah, they did. They teamed up with a local technical college to create an apprenticeship program. And within a year, they'd trained 10 new skilled employees. So not only did they solve their immediate staffing problem, but they also built up this sense of loyalty and commitment among their employees. It's a great example of how being proactive about talent management can really create a win-win.
That's a great example. But it kind of makes me wonder, how scalable is that approach? For businesses that don't have as many resources. What are some other ways companies can build their own talent pipelines?
Well, one of the big takeaways for all of us is that just waiting for talent to show up at your door is not a strategy. Skills-based hiring is becoming a game changer. Think about platforms like LinkedIn Skills Assessments or Vervo. They help you see beyond the traditional resume and actually evaluate what a candidate can do.
I can see how that would be a huge advantage, especially when you need people with really specific technical skills. But what of developing the talent you already have?
Right. Upskilling your current workforce is absolutely essential. Think of it like sharpening the tools you already have. Platforms like Udemy for Business or Coursera offer so many learning opportunities, from short courses to even full degree programs. You can target those specific knowledge gaps within your teams, and that can lead to better retention and a more engaged and capable workforce.
So we've talked about attracting talent, but now let's talk about how to keep them. We hear a lot about quiet quitting these days. What exactly does that mean, and why should we be worried about it?
Quiet quitting, it's basically when employees are doing their jobs, but without any real passion or, going the extra mile, they're not really engaged. One report actually mentioned that disengaged employees cost businesses something like $450 billion a year in lost productivity. For small businesses, that kind of hit can be devastating.
And then there's the cost of replacing those employees.
Exactly. And when you add in the cost of recruiting, hiring, and training new people, which can be as much as twice their annual salary, you really start to see how much high turnover hurts. It drains your resources and disrupts everything.
This reminds me of a case study in one of the reports. It was about a marketing agency in Texas dealing with a 25% turnover rate. They found out through an employee engagement platform that their team felt disconnected from leadership and didn't have enough opportunities to grow.
What's interesting about that case study is that they didn't totally change their company culture overnight. They made small but important changes, like having monthly one-on-one meetings with managers and setting up a mentorship program. And guess what? Their turnover rate dropped to 10% and engagement scores went way up.
That just shows that even small changes can make a huge difference. Are there any specific tools or strategies you recommend for getting employee feedback and measuring engagement levels?
Absolutely. Platforms like TI and YPulse or Office Vibe let you get real-time feedback from your team. You can see how morale is doing and spot potential problems before they get out of control. And we can't forget about supporting our employees' mental health. Services like Lyra Health or Spring Health are not just perks anymore. They're essential benefits that show your team that you care about their well-being.
Those are all great tips for improving retention. But, at the end of the day, compensation and benefits play a huge role in whether someone stays or leaves.
It's not just about the salary anymore, right? People want the whole package. And in this competitive job market, that package has to be really good to attract and keep top talent. One thing the report's really highlighted is that wage gaps are still a problem, which is a big concern. U.S. Department of Labor data shows that women still earn only 84 cents for every dollar a man makes, even when they work full-time year-round.
That's a pretty discouraging statistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets even worse when you look at race and ethnicity.
It does. Black workers earn just 76 cents for every dollar earned by white workers. And for Hispanic or Latino workers, it's only 73 cents. This just shows how important pay transparency is. And some states are taking action. Illinois, Minnesota, and Vermont are all going to have pay transparency laws in 2025. So salaries will have to be listed in job postings.
It seems like pay transparency is becoming more of an expectation than a trend.
It really is. In fact, in 2023, half of the jobs on Indeed showed salary ranges. That's up from just 20% 4 years earlier in 2019. Companies that are open about pay are going to have a real advantage in attracting and retaining talent.
So how can companies proactively work to close these wage gaps and make sure their compensation practices are fair?
Technology is playing a big role in that. It helps with real-time data analysis, automating compensation processes, and improving pay transparency. Performance-based compensation is also becoming more popular. It's all about aligning individual goals with company goals and rewarding people for what they contribute.
So it's about creating a culture of meritocracy, where everyone has a chance to succeed based on their performance and what they bring to the table. So to wrap up this part of our deep dive, taking it all in, it sounds like attracting and retaining talent is going to be a whole new ball game in the next few years.
Absolutely. I think transparency, particularly around pay, is becoming non-negotiable. And the role of AI, well, that's a whole other deep dive. But it's clear that companies that adapt to these trends are going to have a real advantage.
Yeah, it sounds like those who are clinging to the old ways might be left in the dust. This makes you wonder what skills will be most valuable in this evolving landscape. Yeah. And what can you do now to prepare? I don't know, lots to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See ya.
See ya.